So sometimes it feels like Trudeau is genuinely just trying to wreck Canada. That's his goal. Ruin Canada. Bankrupt Canada. Make everything in Canada dysfunctional. Because he's constantly rolling out insanity.
I don't know, when I think about the biggest, most important economic policy this government, if re-elected, would move forward, you'll forgive me if I don't think about monetary policy.
I've covered Trudeau's intention to reduce fertilizer use for farmers. How about this? Canada would need business case for LNG exports to Europe, according to the Prime Minister. Business case. Let's see, they desperately need it, and we have it. Justin Trudeau says natural gas exports costly and logistically difficult. Yeah, and what isn't these days, right? No, there's an easy answer to this question of getting natural gas to Europe. We're on it. Let's see, Canada is now seeking over 430,000 immigrants annually. So there's a housing crisis all across Canada. The healthcare system in Canada is falling apart. Infrastructure generally isn't capable of serving the public. So here's a solution. Bring in way more people. This doesn't seem sane to me. But when it comes to Trudeau, nothing does. Trudeau's COOF policies lead to 45% fewer Americans driving to Canada. Oh gee, another Trudeau policy that's counterproductive. Prior to the COOF, American road trippers flocked up north in droves, taking advantage of all that Canada has to offer, and supporting the tourism industry of the nation's numerous border regions. While the number of Americans crossing the border into Canada has risen in recent months, it is still nowhere near pre-pandemic levels. Some have blamed the notorious ARRIVECAN app, suggesting it deters potential visitors by adding an extra level of complication to their vacations. Here we have this from the Canada.ca website. Use ARRIVECAN to enter Canada. You must use ARRIVECAN to provide mandatory travel and public health information before and after your entry into Canada. ARRIVECAN is not only keeping travelers safe, but it's part of our ongoing efforts to modernize cross-border travel. So I'm assuming, because it's a Trudeau government, that modernize means make more like China. It says here ARRIVECAN is not only keeping travelers safe, it's not doing that. It's a totally pointless exercise in government control and overreach. This is to prove that you've had the jab before you come into Canada, and the jab doesn't stop you from getting it or spreading it. But it gives the government more control, so therefore good. Let's see, you must submit your information within 72 hours before your arrival in Canada. And what's that? Just your public health information. Yeah, I'm not so surprised that people wouldn't go along with this. According to Statistics Canada, the number of American road trippers entering Canada in the summer of 2022 sat at just over 50% of the amount recorded in the summer of 2019. So what does this reduction in American dollars mean? Well, obviously, of those businesses which haven't already gone bust under the Trudeau government, many more will. And again, at some point, you have to wonder, is it intentional? Is that the goal? Does Trudeau want to see Canada just become one giant Walmart? Anyway, politicians representing the region have called out federal government for its insistence on keeping certain COOF-era restrictions in place, including the use of the ARRIVECAN app. Quote, "We've lost 2 years of tourism," MP Tony Baldinelli said in a heated discussion with Trudeau Transportation Minister Omar Alghabra. Quote, "This year, if we lose it, it's self-inflicted, and there's nobody to blame but this Liberal government." So Niagara Falls Mayor Jim Diodati said this: "When you talk to any business in town, they'll tell you there's a very small amount of American dollars coming in. It's been hurtful, especially after the last 2 years. He placed some of the blame on the ARRIVECAN app, saying he talked to Americans and that they'd rather go to Europe than Canada because it's much easier to enter. And why? Because the ARRIVECAN app must be filled out to provide mandatory proof of the jab for travel into Canada. Does it make any sense? No, of course not. I mean, I guess you've got that small, perpetually terrified crowd. You know, the people that you see standing in the middle of a field by themselves wearing 4 masks. But I can tell you, Canada's pretty much over this by now. At least normal people are. Anyway, the Niagara Falls mayor has, along with other border town leaders, called on the Trudeau government to scrap the app. However, there appears to be no end in sight. That's because Trudeau doesn't care, right? That's because Trudeau's goals are not your goals. And what exactly his goals are, well, that's up for speculation. But one thing that we can be certain his goals aren't is to help Canadians. Anyway, please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. Thank you for doing that. I'll see you next time.